3rd and jumping on live to continue my series on how we can set our children up for success by saving for their post-secondary education costs with a registered education savings plan here in Canada. I want to apologize. I did miss my Monday night video. I honestly forget. It was a friend's birthday and I stayed way too late chatting with her and came home past midnight. So I just skipped that day and I'm here today, Thursday night, just before 9 to talk about RESPs. So this is video 2 of my series on RESPs. In the first video, I shared some basics about RESP plans and the different federal programs, i.e. programs that are available to any Canadian resident in any province to support or get a grant towards whatever they put in to an RESP for their children. And there were 2 provinces who also have some matching programs. Do you remember who those were? If you don't, head back to that video and check it out and comment on the show notes or the video if you remember which 2 provinces here in Canada still or do have a matching program for parents like you and I who want to save for their for our children's post-secondary education. So what types of RESP accounts are there? There are 3. There's the individual, there's the family, or the group plan. And sometimes you'll hear group plans known as scholarship accounts. Okay, so let's talk really briefly about the 3 different types. The first one, individual RESP accounts. Pretty self-explanatory. That means you have only one beneficiary named to that account. What's a beneficiary? Is the person that you're saving the money for. So with an individual account, anyone can open it, i.e. a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, a friend, anyone. And even the individual who is looking to do their post-secondary education, they can open one themselves as long as they're 18 years or older. So it's pretty simple. It's one person, one account to contribute to however much you'd like. A maximum of $2,500 is eligible for the federal grant. And if you live in either of the 2 provinces, you may be able to get some other support or income from the provincial governments of those provinces. So do you know which provinces those are? Remember, comment on the show here if you know which 2 provinces here in Canada have matching RES programs. Okay, the second type of RESP program here in Canada is called a family one. And this is actually the one that I set up for my children. And what's a family RESP? It's where you can have more than one beneficiary or more than one person you're saving for under one account. The key thing is that the beneficiary must be related to the person who opened and is contributing to the account. And so I set this up for my 3 children. Whenever you set up a family RESP, all the beneficiaries must be under the age of 21 whenever they're being added to a family RESP. So because in a family RESP, the person who's contributing to the plan must be related to the beneficiaries, unlike in an individual plan, an aunt or uncle, or if you're an aunt or uncle, you can't open one for your nephew or niece. You open one for your own children. But if it was an individual one, you could open one again for anyone, a niece, a nephew. Hi, nice to see all of you jumping on. Feel free to comment as to which province you're joining from in Canada and if you have an RESP and how long you've been investing and what province you're signing in from. All right, so we talked about individual RESPs and family RESPs. One of the drawbacks of a family RESP compared to an individual RESP is that with an individual RESP, there's actually no age limit to how long you can contribute to it. But with a family RESP, you can only contribute up until the beneficiaries are age 21. One of the benefits of having a family RESP, which is why I did it, is that it allows you to share the earnings, the investment earnings across beneficiaries. So say, for example, you have two children and one child decides that they want to become a doctor and the other child decides that they just want to do a basic degree, maybe engineering. Then, the one who's doing the doctor is likely going to be a bit more expensive. And if you're able to, you want to try to contribute more. And if you have them both in the same plan, all the income you earn in that plan, you can decide which sibling gets it, right? Based on the cost of their program. So I like that about the family RESP. All right, the last type of RESP. Does anybody know what it is? I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, and it's called a group RESP. And you see a lot of these being marketed. They're often scholarship accounts. And the key thing about a group RESP is like a mutual fund. It's like a pooled investment portfolio. And what happens is that if you enter into a group RESP, or what we call scholarship accounts, you tend to be entered into a group by age, and it matures at a certain date, right? So you tend to be grouped with someone who's the same age as the child that you're saving for, and then you guys contribute. And then when it matures, you divide up the return. I personally have stayed away from that, primarily because I like to be in control of my investments. I like to be able to choose the investments that are in my RESP. And so initially I started with TD, which you might have heard me mention in my first video. And I'm curious, for all of you who are here now, what have you invested in with your RESP? Are you in an individual RESP for your children or child? Do you have a family, or are you in a group plan? I have a family one, as I said, and I have it with TD right now, but I'm actually transferring it over to Questrade because I did some research and I find that the fees and costs at Questrade are cheaper than TD. And so I'm transferring it over, and you'll see in my show notes, I actually recommend going forward, if you would like to have a self-directed, i.e. you want to create an RESP where you decide what investments are in the plan, and the best platform or company to go with, from my opinion, is Questrade. And if you're interested in checking them out and starting an account with them, then use my referral code in my description to get $50 when you open up a new account with them. All right, so just finishing up about group RESPs. As I said, I tend to stay away from them because I like to direct my investment plan. But the other reason why I tend to stay away from them is that they tend to be high fees. So if you need to make a change or you need to pull out your money, there tend to be high barrier or high costs when you want to make that change. While if you have an individual RESP or a family RESP, you're not going to encounter as much costs. All right, so I just want to jump on to do that video number 2 of RESPs. As I mentioned, the pop quiz for today was, from the last video, what are the 2 provinces in Canada that have matching RESP plans similar to the federal program that I talked about in my first video that is available to all residents of Canada? And then other things, I'd love for everyone to chime in or comment as to where they're tuning in from in Canada, and do you have an RESP for your children, or were you a beneficiary of an RESP when your parents were saving for your education? All right, so tune in next week where I'm going to talk about the different types of investments you can hold in a plan. Thanks for watching.